3, 2. There we go. We're recorded. Welcome everybody. Thanks for being here in person and on Zoom. We are excited. We've got a great panel with us today. We're going to be going over client care events. So get your notepads handy, get pens. Everybody get one idea from today that could help change your business and put it on a new trajectory. So I'm Craig Young. I'm the team leader up in Otsego, filling in for Jen Briggs, who is on vacation with her kids. So well deserved for her. But excited to be here. I guess why don't we go down the panel? We've got Schneeberger, Stephen DeGreef, we've got Ben Dzurik, and we've got Michael Kaslow. Alex isn't here, the older of the twins, right? So usually they're more responsible. But anyway, so we've got a great crew aboard here. Why don't we just go real quick and just share for those that might not know who you are, how long you've been in the business, and what brought you to Keller.
My name is Steve Schneeberger. I have been in real estate for 20 years. First 12 with a different company, now the rest with Keller, and started right here in this office. Good to be back here. But you know, my area of focus has been geographic farming, and I work pretty heavily in Richfield. So some of my events are both client events and community events. So I kind of bring that kind of a perspective to the show today.
Awesome. Stephen DeGreef, been in the business now going on 7 or 8 years. How I started was I joined up with my mother, luckily, plus or minus, depending on the day. So lucky enough to join up with her. She had a very good business. She was in the business 25 years, so had a very good client base. We've been very sphere oriented ever since, and events have always been kind of our backbone of what we do. So.
I'm Ben Dzurik with the Dzurik Property Twins, my twin brother Alex. We've been in the business for about 9 years, 7 years at KW. Main thing that brought us here was the training and the culture. And similar to you, we really pour into our sphere. That's where we focus a lot of our energy, taking care of them and building those relationships. And that's kind of where our events are based around. And from there, we'll talk more about that shortly.
Go ahead, Michael.
Hello, I'm Michael Kaslow, and I have been a realtor for 15 years. And I moved over to Keller Williams 4.5 years ago from another brokerage, and moved over here because I needed to build a team. And after a lot of great conversations with Jake Coors, I realized that I needed to make a move in order to grow a team to meet the goals that we had intended. And we do a lot of events throughout the year. And our events focus on our sphere and similar to Steve in our community. So our events, when we're marketing them, we have some events that are just for our sphere and our past clients or current clients. And then we've got 3 or 4 that include our farm. So, and we try to do events, 8 to 9 events throughout the year.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, you guys, for sharing that. So I guess just to kind of go through, we've named this training today and panel, guest of panels, is client care event. So if each one of you could share, like, what does that mean to you, client care event? I mean, that has a very specific tone to it versus just a real estate event. Why don't we just go through, whoever's ready to jump in at any given time. So
I'll start. So when we think of client care, for example, we have we do a annual picnic. Every summer we do a picnic for our clients, and this could be somebody that I helped buy or sell a home my very first year in real estate, or it could be someone that we closed last month. But anybody who has referred business to me or the team, or has been one of our clients over the last 15 years, they get to come to this picnic. And it's an open invitation. We call it family reunion. Whenever somebody closes on our team, we say, welcome to our MKT family, our real estate family. And we really look at it that way. And so our picnic is a time that for those folks that we haven't seen since closing, or we only get to see them once a year, it's just a really wonderful touch. New kids, new things that are happening in their worlds that we get a chance to have a touch, a personal touch, and have those forward conversations, talk about who they, what's important to them, what's happening in their lives. And so that's a really important part of it for us each year. And then we do also events like our holiday party in December. We've been doing that now for 10 years. And that's a more exclusive event where anybody that has referred business or has closed with us within that year gets an invitation to our holiday party. And it's an exclusive event. We rent out a restaurant. We have trees and wreaths, all kinds of fun things. And we're always giving back to the community. So we've got a wonderful relationship nonprofit called Good in the Hood. And so it gives our clients the opportunity to also give back by bringing a gift that gets donated for the holiday season. So it's just part of that touch that people expect, but it rarely happens. So it's really nice to have that.
Which is you basically saying thank you for being in relationship together.
Absolutely.
So yeah. What about you, Ben?
So for us, I'd say client care event, a synonym for us is a party. Like we love to create fun, create a memory, an experience that you want to tell other people about. You want to share it with others, and more importantly, you want to come back again. And so we do 2 main events a year. One is we end up renting out the biggest boat on Lake Minnetonka for a day every single year, and invite all of our closest friends, spear, vendors, past clients, and get everyone on the boat. We hire a DJ, a photographer, and we get everyone out there. We have food, there's a bar, and we just have a lot of fun. Everyone like you can choose to dress up how much you want, but everyone does every year. They want to bring back their friends, their family, their spouses. And so everyone looks forward to it every year. So we book it out, 3, 4, 5 years every single time so that we have that day reserved every year. And then it's an absolute blast. More and more people want to come every year. And then we do a winter event as well, which is a dinner party at either my house or Alex's house. And again, it's a themed party, whether it's Pajama-rama or a speakeasy or neon 90s at the North Pole. We end up creating a theme. And every single year it's, the house is decorated as if it's like winter wonderland. And so everyone comes dressed in costume as well. So they're very involved in being part of the event. Again, wanting to bring people, wanting to come the next year. We set it up with sending out invites, mail hard copy ones that have a lot of time and energy into them, and just kind of create that also luxury experience from start to finish. Again, with professional photographers and things like that there, so people really get into it. So again, those are 2 events. And then we do like smaller ones throughout the course of the year, but those are the 2 main ones that people like plan for.
Awesome. And it kind of shows your personality along with they want to be a part of that. And they've seen that through the process of either buying, selling, or investing in a home. Awesome. Stephen?
Kind of the same thing, client care, just being able to give back to the people that, got you to where you are, and love to get the referrals, obviously, but kind of the same thing, making it a party, a fun experience, something that they're going to remember, and just a way to give back to them. And yeah, we do 2 big events. We do a date night and our holiday one, where we both rent out a brewery. This year we're doing a brewery for the date night, or a restaurant where it's come have dinner, more intimate, more so. Where it's just the parents and the kids come have a date night on us, have the food, live music, kind of feel like everyone walked out with a bottle of wine, at the end of it. And then our holiday party is definitely a big one, where I got pictures of Santa, live music again. Everyone gets a big pot of plant, but basically just making that experience a fun time that everyone again looks forward to.
Good. Steve, what about you?
I guess first of all, the question is what's the definition of a client?
What does that mean to you?
What it means to me really is an opportunity for me to connect with people that get to see all the time. Buyers are all over the metro, and so the client events are an opportunity to be in person with them. Or in the last couple of years, even the virtual format has become, I guess, allowable and more permissible than in the past. But it's an opportunity to see people face to face, one way or the other, in person or on the screen, and just really kind of love on them and appreciate them, and just show gratitude for them for being part of our business.
Perfect. One of the things that I did is I actually, because it's so easy to Google stuff, right? So I went in and I said, customer care. It says customer care is the process of looking after customers to best ensure their satisfaction and delightful interaction with the business and its brand, goods, and services. It's closely related to customer experience, which I've heard a couple times here in that, but it's different from customer support and customer service. So I think you guys all touched on that a little bit in where you're at for your events and stuff like that. What I'd like to do is, now that we kind of have a framework for what that is, what's the true purpose of your events, or what's your expected outcome from that? Like return on investment, right? You're investing in them. What does that look like for each one of you?
So it's interesting because it depends on the event. So this Sunday, for example, we are doing a spring cleanup. And this is something that we're doing in the community where we've rented a shredded truck, we've rented dumpsters, and people can, in the community, and past clients can come and they can drop off anything to fill our dumpster, anything that they need, old electronics, anything they need, they can come on Sunday and drop those off. And so, and we're doing this within the community. And a lot of times when we're doing things like this, we're also doing this with a nonprofit. And sometimes the intention is just truly to engage with the community and to give back. And so there isn't as much focus on ROI with those type of events because the intention is just to build our farm, right? And then there are events that the intention is that we do have to look at the return on investment. And what I always tell the team and what I tell folks is that when you're doing an event, it doesn't matter if one person comes or if 300. It is the activities that you're doing before that and the activities that you're doing after the event that matter the most, because those conversations that you're having with people to invite them, or those conversations you're having with people to say thank you for coming or we missed you, give you the opportunity again to have those forward conversations and ask for business. So it's not the event itself that we're focused on the ROI, it's the activities that we're doing before and after where we see more of an impact on that. But you have to pay attention. Our holiday event, I think, is our most expensive event for the year, and it's about $18,000. So when we are doing that event, we absolutely have to figure out ways that when we're inviting people to come to that we have an opportunity to say, hey, happy holidays, you're part of our family. We would love for you to come to this event. And in order for you to come again next year, we're excited for you to bring somebody that you're excited to have the same opportunity we had with you with them. And so we put a lot of focus into how are we going to get, we want it, it's this balance of your family, we're happy to see you, and we're counting on you to continue to help us grow our business.
So it's measured differently depending on what purpose the event is having.
Absolutely. And before you can get to a point where you can put together a budget for a party like that, there has to be thought. It has to be thoughtful. So we're starting to think about this last October. And so we have an events manager on our team, and her number one goal throughout the year is to look at these events and be planning well in advance to get the word out, to get the invitations out, to have those conversations, because there's an intention behind every one of them that is planned the year before.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. We're going to get into that a little bit more as kind of start to finish. What does that look like? Because there's a lot of lead stuff. You're talking 3-5 years, booking out boats. I mean, it doesn't just all of a sudden, hey, let's have a party on the lake this summer. I mean, that's a great thing, but how can you make it a good event for the clients, as well as to plan out correctly and stuff too? So Ben, for you, how do you look at an ROI? How do you look at that? Do you look at it in terms of, like Michael's saying, getting deeper into relationship with your clients, or is there a return on that?
that's definitely a great question. I mean, in terms of money into a lot of our events, like the boat party, that's going to be the most expensive event of the year, and that's about $8,000 to $10,000. We actually that is an event that we do ask the people coming to pay for like essentially a small price for it, right? But it still doesn't cover anywhere near what the actual cost is.
So it's like just a ticket or ticket.
Exactly, yep, exactly. It helps commit them so that we also had no numbers for the boat because we can only fit so many people on the boat. So that's really the main purpose. But then I'd say the overall idea of any of our events that we host is just building the relationships and the connections there. And similar to what you were saying, kind of the actions get the results of the steps up to it in terms of the invites, talking with them, following up with photos afterwards. Kind of all those different steps help kind of create that experience, that relationship. And pretty much everyone on any of the events that we talk to, they want to talk about real estate at all of the events. And so whether they're talking about their parents that need to move or whatever that case is, a lot of those conversations then can be followed up with later. Not necessarily at the party, but they typically drop something or talk about something that we can then follow up on. So I guess to follow up, the main purpose though is relationships and connections and having more people come. So.
Steven?
Yeah, I mean, referrals are always a big bonus when they bring those. I'd say our in-person ones, we definitely are always asking, have them sign in. Who do you know that's looking to buy or sell in the next 12 months, 6 months, whatever it is. So we are finding a way to ask that because we have a table full of giveaways at a lot of our events. So TVs, coolers, speakers, electronics that we're giving away for them to sign up to get in. And then that's one question at the bottom that they see every single time. So kind of like getting them used to answering that question for us every time for our events. So referrals are always great. And then just staying connected. It's a great way to easily call them, hey, you're invited to our party again. Just start that conversation. We did just do one this last time because the venue we had ended up going under construction. So what can we do in the spring? So we used March Madness as a kind of an intro for that, where we weren't really looking for anything, just to get our name in front of people, where, hey, fill out a bracket. At the end of the tournament, the winner gets a grill, one of the Blackstone grills. So $600 cost for something that they just fill out online and automatically track for them. Didn't quite work out because I won, but we just went to the second person in line and gave them the Blackstone. So
Great.
Yeah, we're real good, right? Yeah.
free event.
No, that's awesome. Steve, what about you?
Well, when you talk about ROI, I think I'm a big fan of low cost, high return, high impact events. And so, for example, we have a couple great events out of the Edina Market Center that I like to piggyback on. We've got our shred event coming up in a few weeks, and where we have the shredding trip, we have electronics recycling, we've had Goodwill or Art Value Village come and just people come through the parking lot and drop off all their stuff, grab a coffee, get some donut holes, and that's a great event. And we're already as people that work in that office, we're already kind of dialed into it. So why wouldn't you do it? And the other thing that they do at the Edina Market Center is our holiday party, and we have a real life Santa, real beard, not a fake one, comes and we've got the room set up for photos with Santa and just a whole host of things that go on. I think those are great things to piggyback on. And then in addition to that, we do some of the things just my team. And kind of like what Michael was talking about, we do some community events. Sometimes they're not so much focused on just clients only, but clients and community. So we'll try to combine the client interaction with the community interaction. And so I guess, from an ROI standpoint, we're looking to get the most bang for our buck when we can. And that seems to work out pretty well for us.
So speaking of cost, because events can look quite different, right? I mean, you kind of did a virtual event with your March Madness thing, other events too. Is that something that you budget for each year? Is that something that you reach out to preferred partners that you're in relationship with in the business? What does that look like?
Because I'd say you definitely budget for them. We have different variety of events. Our date nights normally $5-8 grand. Our Christmas is at 15-ish, so that's a very big event for us. But then again, we do the virtual ones where it's $500 or $600. But yeah, definitely using vendors to help sponsor them. So your title companies, your inspectors, your stagers, your photographers, all the people that you refer business out every single year to, call them up. Hey, you want to be a platinum, gold, or silver sponsor with a $2,500 sponsorship or $15,500, whatever it may be, but give them options versus, hey, do you want to be a sponsor and we'll take what you give? Give them 3-4 options of which one do you want. So we definitely use our vendors as a way to counteract some of my cost.
That's good. And I've seen too, like I was at a recent event of one of our agents up in Otsego, and they actually had the lender that they were in relationship with, which was New American Funding, which is our preferred vendor up there, but they actually had them at the check-in desk. So that way the rest of the team could be out socializing with all the clients. So in addition to some funds, there's other things that they could do. And then they got to meet a lot of new people too that know their name now for refinances, things like that too. So good point. Ben?
In terms of budgeting, we essentially budget the previous year, or even more than that, in advance, so that we pretty much know how much everything's going to cost. The Christmas parties, $2,000 to $3,000 a year, and we do Top Golf and other smaller events throughout the year. But yeah, we kind of set that budget on the front end for the whole year to be able to allocate it throughout. We haven't done a ton of vendor use like that, but I think that's a great way to be able to do it. It's something that we'll probably add to our marketing plan, but a lot of it is self-budgeted and planned out and thought out, but mainly brought to us by our team.
What about you guys?
So we plan our budget for the following year in October. We do a review of all of our events throughout the year and determine what went well, what didn't go well, where did we spend money that didn't have the ROI that we were hoping for, what are some things that maybe we didn't spend enough money on, and where are the opportunities where we spent too much. And then in October for the following year, we put together our budget for all of the events, and we actually put the money into a separate account so it's there for the following year. That way, you're not trying to figure out how to pay for something 3 months behind, 3 months before it's about to happen. And so that's not a fun place to be. I learned that lesson many years ago. And so we also have a really strong relationship with several preferred partners that we've had relationships with them for many, many years. And we do the same thing where we give them an opportunity to contribute. They can be, the gold, silver, platinum sponsor, and instead of just taking whatever. If you leave it open-ended, you're never going to get what you want. So when you put it out there and you allow them the opportunity to be part of something that they see as really successful too, it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And it helps ease the costs of what these events are too. The thing I would also say is that the level of events that we do throughout the year didn't just happen overnight. I started out doing events with other realtors in my office where there'd be 4 or 5 of us, and we would say, hey, let's all get together and do a pumpkin patch. And then that way we can share the costs and we can find unique ways to do this without having the burden of everything just on one person. So for newer agents or folks that are nervous about the budget that they would have to commit to for that, think of outside the box things, whether it's you're piggybacking on what your office is doing or doing something with other agents in the office that you guys can do this together. It helps. You'll finally get to a point where you can do it on your own and have a lot more control and make it your own brand, your own, that when people come to our events, we want them to have an MKT experience. And so that's really important to me. And that's why I don't prefer to do them with the office or with other agents, because for me and what we do, our brand and our experience is what we want to continue. And so having the most control over that at our events has served us well.
Starting with what you're able to do with where you're at. Don't compare yourself necessarily to where they're at, depending on where you're at. figure out what works for you.
Yeah,
Do
what
those
works for
events.
you.
I know Steven was on our ALC last year, and we did an event at our market center, a party in the parking lot, where we brought in vendors, food trucks, so that they wanted to give an opportunity for the rest of the agents, get in touch with your database, have them come in, and we've got, those types of things. So find the leverage, right, where you can. That's great, Michael. Steve, what about you?
I would add to what Michael said too, because when I was at this market center for the first few years of my KW experience, and we had a group of maybe 10 realtors here that we collectively sponsored a movie morning at the Southdale Theater. So it was an opportunity where we could all, we'd set up our tables and we'd watch for guests to come in. We had everybody things as far as invites and how they wanted their particular experience to go with their clients. But there was kind of strict numbers there because we were able to secure a good rate on the tickets. And subsequently, I have done movie events just on my own, and it's nice to have the branding. It's also we typically invite maybe 200 past clients, and we may only get 40 people to show up. But again, it's kind of the touch points that everybody's been mentioning. It's not necessarily it's all the events leading to it and afterward that I think is most valuable. So we're super grateful for the people that come, and but it's kind of a good way to team up. And usually my events, especially the community events, I'm always teaming up with my lender, local credit union, local insurance company. And I look specifically for people who have the same mindset as I do. People who are really community involved, very excited about being part of the community and want to put on a good event. I'm a big fan of sharing some of those big events with other people.
Okay, good. Yeah, absolutely.
So when you're doing a group event, multiple agents, and maybe it's people are inviting their farm too, so you may not know, everybody by face who's in your farm, right? So how do you manage keeping track of, right, who's coming in and capturing names and addresses, things like that, and then getting them to the right people? What would you recommend?
Well, I could just say personally, I didn't invite my farm to that was just specifically clients, people that I knew, and they walked in the door, I could recognize who they are. And we had a table set up with our tickets in advance, so they knew that, kind of the ticket, and we would watch for them and they would look for our table with our branding on it.
Even with our past clients, we're inviting clients from back when Judy was listing homes 15 years ago that I don't know. So even at our past client events, there'd be people, it's like, I don't remember your name. So as soon as they RSVP, we put their name in an envelope with a name tag. And everyone throws a name tag on right when they walk in the door. So invite a farm or your past clients when they call into RSVP and get them on a list and throw their name on it. Helps a lot.
I think it's difficult to do a group event with other realtors when you're inviting the farm. I don't know how that could be successful if you're worried about making sure that you're connecting with the people that you invited. What I would say is when I was doing, for a few years, I was doing a picnic, the summer picnic with 2 or 3 other agents. And so we would have people check in when they got there. And then I knew if anyone was wearing a red armband, that they were with me. And if they were with purple, they were with that agent, and blue with that agent.
If your armbands were plaid.
They were not plaid. Not then.
Wasn't in the budget back
Wasn't
then.
in the budget. But then that way I could see who was there that was invited by myself, and that helped. But I think it'd be really hard to open it up to your farm and be doing something with others.
Good question. Yep, that was a good question. All right, let's talk. We could go a couple different directions here. I guess just from each one of you, what happened like during COVID? How did you shift? Because I mean, if that were to come back again, what did you do for these events during that time? Like a lot of times we couldn't have anything. So how did you shift? Because if your clients were used to these things happening, like you said, consistently, regularly, and branded, what did that look like?
Well, we were just about to have our first Pi Day event when COVID hit. So it was that, 14th of March. We were sitting on the fence. Do we do this? Do we not? We ended up not, because a lot of people bailed. And so I think what COVID has taught us is that doing things virtually is acceptable, and we can still get a good impact for events that are based on the screen per se. And for those of you who weren't able to tap into the Jason Abrams, Mark King presentation last week, somebody was doing an amazing thing that I thought would be worth sharing with the group here, because it might be worth teaming up with some other agents. But that was that one agent had discovered that if you go into the speakers bureaus, these websites where all the famous speakers are listed and you can hire them for a keynote or training or whatever, apparently there are speakers right now that are doing little 15-minute segments online, and you can get them at a discounted price compared to the 50,000 that you might get them for 5,000. And so this agent, I think, teamed up with a couple of other agents, and each invited their past clients, their sphere, whatever. And so this, it could be an HGTV star that might talk about how to flip a house, or how they got into house investing, or it could be a famous chef that talks about how to grill the perfect steak. But it's and whether you're just doing it on your own, or there's many different agents that are participating, the consumer on the other side of the screen, the clients, they don't know how many people and how many agents are involved in this event. So if it's an event where you want to tap into it, and maybe you don't have a $5,000 budget, it might be kind of a cool thing to team up with. And I'm just starting to research it now to see how it might work for my team. But I think that with the the Zoom calls being more appropriate and more acceptable, I think I don't see a problem if we have to go to it again.
Anybody else have to cancel an event or anything like that during
Yeah,
that?
COVID was hard for me because I'm not naturally I don't do well. I don't do as well on the phone or on a screen as I do in person. And I on purpose have been building a relationship-based business. I don't do well with paid leads. I don't do well with leads that come in that I don't know who they are. That just doesn't naturally work for me. So being in front of people and talking to people and having experiences with people is how I've built my business. And so COVID was really hard. And we, through the help of my team, came up with some really great solutions like cooking classes, where instead of, our picnic, where, everybody gets to come and we get to have a fun time and hug and laugh, we did online cooking classes, and people came and they loved it. I hated it, but everybody else loved it. So that worked out well. Our holiday party, I was just so sad because it's my favorite day of the year. And one year we just had to cancel it. The next year I was like, we are not canceling it this year. So we did a drive-through. So we have a big parking lot behind our office, and we did a drive-through where you drive in, you roll down your window, everyone was masked up, you hand the gift that you're going to donate for the nonprofit, and then you drive your car a little bit more and you get a goodie bag, because we like to feed people. And so we had a goodie bag of food and treats and things like that. And then they go down a little bit more and we strap on their tree or their wreath, whatever they got. And then they drive a little bit more and Santa's waiting for them, and he's sitting on top of their car or by their window. And so we still got to do all the things, just in a very different way. And I would never have figured that out. I relied on my team and our production team to figure all that out. And it was wonderful. And people loved the creativity that they still got to do something, even though it wasn't the same. So it's just looking outside of your box to figure out solutions.
That's wonderful. Great story there. Everyone's event.
So for our team, we, during COVID, we did have to cancel all of our events that were our big events at least. We were able to do them last year in 2021, so that was nice, super blessed to do that. But what we did instead was a lot of pop buys. And so if you just Google like, what is the calendar for the national days, every single day is like a special day. And so you pick something fun that's on there, whether it's National Margarita Day or whatever it is. And we do pop buys dropping those things off throughout the years on the different holidays, even Halloween and things like that, where people are at their door already and will be expecting people. So that's a great day to be able. We dropped off a ton on Halloween. And then we did a lot of bonfires. So we were very intentional, whether it was hanging out in their garage, it was small, intimate settings versus our big settings, but we're very intentional about scheduling more of them. And the people that we chose that maybe sent us a lot of referrals or were very important to our business, we were very intentional about those. So it was a lot more get-togethers at a very small amount and generally outside. So just had to kind of adjust to the new situation, but we're pretty much back to how we were doing things.
Yeah, we altered our events that we did for like our date night. We ended up just going to like Papa Murphy's. We bought 50 pizzas and had everyone come in as kind of a walkthrough. Hey, come grab your pizza, your bottle of wine, and a dessert cookie, whatever. And we had our table of giveaways, so they signed up for the giveaways, grabbed their food, and was able to bring their date night home, to them versus, being in a setting where they'd stay, eat, and everything there. Our Christmas event, kind of the same thing, did a drive-through where we had our potted plants that came picked up. We had a fire. If the people were comfortable coming and hanging out, talking for a bit, they did. Otherwise, we loaded up in the car, talked to them for a little bit, and then be on their way. We did add a couple of virtual ones where we did a reverse bold 100 a couple times where we marketed out there, hey, on Friday the 3rd, or not the 13th, how about Friday the 10th? Friday the 10th, call in to get entered into win we gave away a Traeger grill. And we also did one where we gave away a patio set, to where they just call in, and very natural call because they're calling in on their own will. So you I'll talk to them, hey, how's it going? This and that. Hey, by the way, I'm my business. This is by yourself. So they're almost expecting that question, and real estate always comes up anyway. So that was actually a really good one for us when we did the grill more so than the furniture. But yeah, we had like 130 people call in that day, so very exhausting, but very beneficial. Ended up with like probably 8 referrals out of that too. So.
Good. All right,
Just
go ahead. Yeah.
When you think of these events, it only takes 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on how much you're spending. It only takes a few folks to convert into a lead to completely pay for that event. And then everything beyond that is a bonus. So if you have intention and you have thought behind it, and you've got a good way to generate business before, during, and after, it pays for itself very easily.
So we've got about 15, 20 minutes, I guess. One thing too, with obviously so much talent in events and kind of how they do things all differently, but generally, wanting the same outcome, which is to show a big thank you to the people that you're working with, the communities that you're in and stuff too. Any questions? I guess maybe open it up. If you're on Zoom, unmute. Any questions around events or planning or what that looks like?
I have a question. When you are reaching out to your preferred vendors that you partner with, how do you frame that conversation about what they're gonna offer to give to your event? Like, do you say, would you like to donate, or commit to $2,000, or like, what's that conversation like?
Just send a couple emails, and they normally just reply back to that.
Okay, and you put the dollar amount right in there?
Yeah, so like for our Christmas event, we do like a 2,500, 1,500, 1,000, and 500.
Okay.
So because that is our more expensive event, but then other ones that are cheaper, maybe it's only 500 for the top one, 200, 100. Or we've also had it where like our stager sets up our Christmas Santa stage.
Mhm.
So instead of donating an amount, it's, hey, here's an hour or two of your time
She'll donate the
to
time.
donate the chair, Christmas tree, backdrop. So we have a nice photo
Okay.
op. So it's not always money, it's maybe it's something else.
Yep, okay.
Their time.
Yeah, and then what do they get? And then my second part of my question is, what do they get in return? Like, what do you do for them for donating $1,000 or $2,000?
Well, I would say that it is a much easier conversation to have that in October for the following, hey, I want to partner with you at our events for the year. So instead of going and saying, hey, I'm about to do this, do you want to cough up some money for it?
Yeah.
It is harder for that person then to see what the value proposition is in doing that. But if you can have that conversation and say, in October or November before the year, I want to partner with you. We have this many events that are going to happen throughout the year. I would love for you to be a preferred partner. Can I count on you? And let's have a conversation about what that looks like now so that we can both budget and plan for what this is going to look like throughout the year.
Yeah.
That just, it's such a better conversation, and the value proposition is there for those folks rather than, hey, next month I'm having this, how much do you want to pay me? Or how much do you want to pay to, or what do you want to do for this event? You're going to have better results if you plan ahead.
Well, and then you're going back 3 months later and asking them again, and then 3 months later and asking them again, versus saying, let's partner for the year. What does it look like? What is their return on their investment, right? These are how many people we have. This is what you're going to get. Here's the exposure, those sorts of things. And then it's business conversation.
And I'll tell you, once you establish that relationship and it continues, they very quickly see the value in what they're doing. And all of our preferred partners are always saying, I'm so glad I was part of this event. Here's what happened. Here are the conversations that I've had. Here's the follow-up I did, or here's people that reached out to me. And I asked where they heard about me, and it's from the event. So it definitely is a good investment for everybody.
We also have them start inviting some of their top tier referrals and partners too. So then it's partly their event as well.
And I think one thing we do is we have door prizes at all of our events. And so for the vendor partners that partner up with me, I offer them the ability to put every name in a spreadsheet, and you'll get a copy of all the people whose names were in our door prize drawing. And if you want to market to them, and that's why I don't work with other realtors on those, but an insurance agency or a lender. And so that's one of the values that I present to them, is the ability to connect with the people that came to the event. And I have my admin person compile all the drawing forms and put them all into an Excel. So I take that on and then just share the final list with the people.
Good question.
Questions in the chat.
In the chat? All right. What does your tracking system look like for people that show up to your events? What does that look like? If you have one. Go ahead.
We have our invite list, and so we know everybody that we've invited. And then when they get there, we have iPads that are set up with their names already there. They come in, they check it, and then we have them verify, do we have your most current information? And that way, if there's any changes, we get them right then and there. And then once they're checked in, then that's how, and then that system that we use actually ties into our CRM after the event is done and updates our CRM. So it's all done, and instead of manually, it's just automatically done for us.
App, or what is that?
Well, we use Boomtown for our CRM, and then I don't know what that would be others that, but there is a program that we use on we have a few check-in iPads when people get there, and then once the event is done, we just hit end event, and then it all transfers into our CRM.
So for us, we've got different spreadsheets depending on which event that it is. And we invite everyone on Facebook and track who's confirmed is going. So that then at the event, we have a list and someone's at the front checking them in. And then everyone does get transferred to command eventually, but it's not as integrated, I think, as yours might be.
We're pretty old school too. We have like Excel spreadsheets of who's coming. So year after year, we can kind of keep track of who's coming, how many pumpkins they saved, or how many people they're bringing with. But yeah, mainly just Excel, who's coming, who's going, and then yeah, we have someone checking them in. Yeah.
And we tag our people in command. So it's a community event. We'll have a tag for a, pumpkin giveaway 2022. And then we just keep adding tags as the same people come from event to event, and as new people come in, we just have them tagged specifically to the event.
Perfect. All right, next one. What does your event touch plan look like when you're touching for that? What does it look like either prior to or after? You could have that both sides. So what does that look like?
Well, it depends on the event. On some events, if they're community focused, we do a lot in next door. We flyer the neighborhood. We still door knock. We've never stopped door knocking, and especially in our farm. So we will door knock the event. We'll send out postcards if it's a farm event. If it is a invitation to our picnic, if it's a client event, we typically send them for our holiday event, we send them a holiday card in November. It's kind of we're grateful that it's tied into Thanksgiving and the holidays, where we cordially invite them to our party. And then we give them the link that they go in and they RSVP. And they need to RSVP because we need to know if they want a tree or a wreath, and things like that. So it just depends on the event. Some of them, we have a big budget that we use to market it. And then some of them, the budget is just a couple $100 that we're just maybe doing Eventbrite or something like that.
Yeah. So for us, we do emails, Facebook invites, handwritten notes. So a variety of that. And then the follow-up is following up with the photos of them, and just following up on any conversations that we're having there.
So question about that real quick, Ben. You bring up photos, those types of opportunities and stuff. Is that stuff that you send out to your whole database?
No, great question.
Just to the people that
were invited
in that event?
Exactly. Yep. So they don't go to people that were not present.
Either they weren't invited or
Exactly. Or do not want
or did not make that list. Okay.
Yeah, we use kind of integrated with our 33 Touch. We do a postcard every month. So for our events, they're still getting a hard copy invite, and then emails. We use BombBomb to record a video, so you know who's actually opening it and watching it, and then they can go into a spreadsheet and RSVP right from there. So that's been very helpful with getting people signed up and RSVP'd. And then we do phone calls like the week of, and then the day of, we started doing texts. And we use an app called Reach, where you can write out the text, and it'll input their name, so it's kind of a personal touch to them exactly. And we get a lot more feedback the day of, like, hey, just a quick reminder, we got our event tonight. Love to see you there. Can't wait to see you there.
Does that Reach app use your own personal phone
Yes.
number? Is
Yep.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it makes it a lot easier because it inputs it in from an Excel sheet. You just got to click there and hit send, however many people you have, but it makes it a lot easier than copy paste. So that's been a big one for us.
I will say this about events. If you struggle with lead generation, if you struggle with calling and talking to your sphere or talking to your farm, don't do events. You've got to get comfortable with lead generation, because the most impact, it's not the parties and the client events are not what drives the business. And so you have to be comfortable with making those calls, having those conversations to invite people to come. And you have to be comfortable with those conversations after the event to say, thank you for coming, or we missed you. And then whatever your script is going to be after that. So don't just do events to do events, because it'll be a waste of money. You have to get comfortable with conversations first.
And even starting from a backyard barbecue and inviting people over for that, even with a small group, and gradually getting bigger so that you're more comfortable. The key is having fun, a positive impact, and creating something that people want more of. so that they want to talk to you more, they want to come back, all that good retention. So.
We did touch on either using the photographer. We do a videographer for a lot of our video or events too. Using social media, like, hey, here's our fun events that we're doing for our past clients and people who refer us, and putting that out there so people are seeing that, and then kind of making them say, oh, I missed that event, or I'm not going to miss that next year. It's a great way to advertise for your brand and what you're doing for your people.
Perfect. Any other questions that we have here online, or on Zoom or in person here? Or if you want to, any thing you want to share that, you obviously just said that, but you talked just briefly, Michael, about giving back like to the communities, right? And you had kind of said in your drive-through, you had donations come back. A lot of people want to get behind a cause. So what is the cause or the purpose? So going back full circle to what's the purpose of the event? Is it about me, or is it about them and the community? And I think each one of these gentlemen up here do a great job with their teams. If it weren't for their teams and the logistics side, we know how that goes. But don't you agree with that as far as getting behind a cause and a mission for even those events?
100%. And I think that what we have done and what works well for us is not just figuring out what that is for the event, but having a long-term relationship with these nonprofits or these causes. And then your sphere and your farm and the people that are attending these, they know what it is, and they're looking to see however they contributed, they're excited to see where that goes and what happens from there. So when we start making these about us, that's where you're going to lose people. And everything that the intention is all about you, and the intention behind this is what am I getting out of it, you're going to lose every time. So you have to look at every single one of these events with the intention of how can I give? And by giving, what organically is just going to come back.
And just partnering with something that you believe in or is somehow related to you. We've done Best Christmas Ever in the past, finding a local family that's fallen upon something no fault of their own and being able to get behind them, and the community wants to support them. And through them, you're able to help the community and also discuss real estate at the same time. So it goes full circle.
Okay, we've got, for those of you with bigger teams, who is responsible for inviting the past clients or sphere? Is this one person on the team, or do you have each agent hold that responsibility? It's just me here.
So on our team, like I talked about, we have a team, we have an assistant, and her number one job is all of our events. And then we have 4 other full-time assistants that when we do have events, their job is to be reaching out and doing that. And then we have call nights as a team where absolutely the agents are responsible for continuing to build those relationships. They know these clients better than anybody else. And so, and that's the great thing about having a database and a CRM that you can go back in when you're making these calls and see what was happening in their lives, the conversation before, so that as you're calling to invite them to the event, you can say, oh, you know what, we haven't talked in a few months and it looks like you just got a new dog. How's that going about? I'm actually calling to invite you to our next event. So it's not just about that, but it's those forward conversations that you can have. But it's a team, it is definitely a team. It's a combination of all of us working hard together as a team to get it done.
So our team's pretty small. It's just myself, my twin brother Alex, and Jacob Knudsen. And so it is the 3 of us all working together to really invite everyone. We are actively hiring for a buyer's agent and a listing coordinator. If anyone knows anyone great, we'd love to talk with them.
I advertise too. I'm kidding.
We all need help.
I would say too, before we're closing up here, it looks like we've got just maybe another 2 minutes or so, but reach out. Like when we have these types of panels and stuff, I mean, that's one of the things that when I came back in 2006 to Keller was because of culture. We come from cognition. reach out, send an email, get in white pages, find one of these names or give a call. I know within the Butler Group, just a lot of great big hearts and stuff, but just kind of start there and sit down and just say, hey, can I buy a coffee or be on the phone with you for 5 minutes and just kind of show me what your plan looks like. Where do you start? Where do you go? If you're
And
not
don't be
sure.
afraid to share what it has worked for you. I used to go online and I would see other teams that were doing everything that I did, using the same vendors, using, all the different people that we would have. I would go online and I'd see other events and I'd be like, oh my God, they're copying everything that I did. And I would be like, ugh. And over the years, what I've realized is that, and this is for all of us, don't recreate the wheel. If you see something that is working well for somebody else, don't be it's a compliment when you see another team or another realtor that is doing what you're doing. And it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the people who are attending your events are the people who care about you and your business. And if other people are mimicking what you're doing or copying what you're doing, good for them. There's enough business out here for all of us. And so don't be offended or put off if your hard work is copied by somebody else. Go find somebody else that's doing something great and copy what they're doing. It's like I said, there is enough business out here for all of us. And just whatever you do, though, make sure that it is that it's you, and that you're not just trying to copy somebody for the sake of copying, but that when they come, they really know that it's you, and that you're behind it. And
Personality of the event is the
event.
authenticity that
You're authentic.
that only you can hold.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, we're out of time. It's 2 o'clock. I want to thank everybody that came in today, that jumped on Zoom too. We appreciate it. Thank our guests for coming in, that runs some great events. So thank you very much. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.